Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and before we get started on today's video, these are the top 3 requested videos from you, the viewers here at Texans Today, so I'm going to let you make the call. What video should I make first? Whatever y'all choose in the comment section is going to be the video that I drop tomorrow morning. Do you want offensive coordinator replacements if you want to get rid of Nick Caley? Do you want free agent targets for the Houston Texans after this season? Or do you want a Tank Dell and Joe Mixon update with maybe some rumors from around the streets of H-Town? I'll tell you about that in that show. But let me know down in the comment section, what video do you want first? Give me a 1, a 2, or a 3 down below. Whatever I see the most of tomorrow morning, that's the video that I'm going to make. Welcome into today's show. We are going to be going over some major NFL news that directly impacts the Houston Texans because one of our AFC South rivals have some major changes ahead and possibly a bidding war with the Houston Texans. I'll tell you what I mean by all that on today's show. But first, let's get right into the news. The Tennessee Titans have hired a new head coach. Robert Saleh, the former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers and former head coach of the New York Jets. Also spent some time with the Houston Texans during his earlier years as an assistant. Also with the Seahawks, multiple other teams along the way. But Robert Saleh, I think, is a decent hire here by the Tennessee Titans to pair with second-year quarterback Cam Ward. The 49ers defense, it looked really good this year. It was, I'm not going to say really good. It was good for the fact that all of their guys were injured this season. He was, as I mentioned, a Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl 48 whenever they defeated the Denver Broncos. He was a defensive assistant, then obviously went with Gus Bradley to the Jacksonville Jags, and then went and got the DC job with the 49ers. But, his job this year maybe has saved his career because he was kind of down after that Jets head coaching stint where he went 20-36, right? And a lot of people kind of feel like he got the raw end of the deal there in New York. But the job he did this past year with the San Francisco 49ers was amazing. It was a coaching masterclass. And this is straight from our 49ers host, Chase Sr., on why he believed Saleh would be a good head coach. He's a culture setter, great communicator, elite defensive mind, gets buy-in from his players, and did a fantastic job this year. And it's funny because a lot of this stuff, if I change Robert Saleh with DeMeco Ryans, you could probably say the same exact thing. He is a very similar style coach to DeMeco Ryans where the players love him, the players buy in, he sets the culture, and he's a great defensive mind in the NFL. I mean, look at the 49ers defensive stats. And nothing's going to wow you or jump off the page. They're not top 10 in anything. Here in 2025, points per game, they were 13th in the NFL. Yards per game, 20th. Yards per play, 24th. Not great. Third down percentage, 19, and red zone percentage, 12. But when you consider that they were without these 3 guys, one of their top picks in Mykel Williams, one of their best pass rusher for sure in Nick Bosa, and the heart and soul of their defense in Fred Warner, and the 49ers defense wasn't bottom 10, bottom 5 in every statistic, that tells you how good of a job Robert Saleh has done as a defensive coordinator and how good of a job he did this year. Now, the biggest question, the biggest one when it comes to Saleh is, what is he going to do with Cam Ward? The rookie quarterback going into his second year now with the Tennessee Titans. A lot of people thought maybe they would get an offensive-minded guy to pair with Ward to, help his development, the former first overall pick for Tennessee. It's going to be a big question of who he now brings in as the offensive coordinator, because kind of the thing we're dealing with DeMeco right now, right? He's a great defensive mind, does an excellent job as, being the head of this team, being the culture setter, the team builder, but the offensive side. And that's what Saleh is going to run into here in Tennessee. And I'll tell you the bidding war that might be coming up soon between the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. Before I tell you who that is, quick word from our sponsor. Got to give a shout out to America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. That is Prize Picks. Joins the millions of users and sign up today. The big game It's almost here. And there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get in on the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Now, for a chance to play in the big game, obviously, we have more football this weekend. And this is the lineup that I got from one of my guys here at Chat Sports. He's going Drake May more on the pass yards, Cooper Kupp more on the receptions, Devontae Adams more on the receptions as well. If you want to use this lineup, you certainly can, or go ahead and you make your own, because Prize Picks is super simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in big time. Get on the action. Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Now, right after the Titans hired Robert Saleh, the number one name that I saw across Twitter, across Instagram, everybody talking about, insiders, fans of the Titans, fans of the NFL, everybody was saying one name, Mike McDaniel. He was fired by the Miami Dolphins this past offseason. He was their head coach from 2022 to 2025. A Kyle Shanahan guy, obviously Robert Saleh just now leaving Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, and they actually worked together in 2 separate instances. Mike McDaniel and Robert Saleh worked with each other with the San Francisco 49ers, obviously. But before that, they also worked together as, lower-level guys with the Houston Texans. So fun fact right there about Mike McDaniel. But obviously, they have a good connection, right? They go back, and it would be a logical hire for many people, right? And, especially for Robert Saleh, if he went ahead and got his buddy in Mike McDaniel. I think that would make sense for him, especially with the Tennessee Titans, especially with a young quarterback. We've seen what, Mike McDaniel can do with quarterbacks, and I think he's done a pretty good job as an offensive-minded guy, right? This is where the wrench kind of gets into the plan, because Aaron Wilson reported yesterday, DeMeco Ryans non-committal on Nick Caley's status. The Texans offensive coordinator said he's evaluating everything, and sources emphasized it would be a surprise for Caley to be a one-and-done, citing progress after the rocky start this season. So they're saying, maybe he's there, maybe he's not. But, DeMeco Ryans, which we might have a photo of that, DeMeco Ryans and Mike McDaniel. They're also pretty good friends. And I do wonder if the fact that the Titans are now eyeing McDaniel, he was non-committal about Nick Caley. Does that mean they're somewhat interested in bringing in a Mike McDaniel? Now, if they did so, they would have to give him the big bucks, because he's been interviewing for head coaching positions. He interviewed with the Raiders. He interviewed with the Browns. He's been interviewing for a lot of OC positions. He interviewed with the Detroit Lions, amongst other teams, and a lot of teams are eyeing him as their possible next offensive coordinator. So the question goes to you. Would you break the bank for Mike McDaniel if you were in the Texans front office? Give me a yes. Give me a no down below in the comments section. I'm interested to see what you have to say. After this YouTube ad break, I'm going to tell you what I think about the Texans possibly breaking the bank for McDaniel. In a vacuum, I think it would be a good idea, right? Obviously, Mike McDaniel, I think he's a really smart offensive mind. He has a lot of experience now as a play caller. He had it, his entire tenure with the Miami Dolphins. And, I thought did a pretty decent job. It's a massive risk, though, if you're the Houston Texans, because, one, you're assuming that C.J. Stroud's back next year as your QB1. That means you're basically starting at square one again with Stroud. Now, McDaniel, he has a lot of the same, influences as a Bobby Slowick before, so maybe it wouldn't be too difficult. But also, you'd have to fire your current offensive coordinator and hope that McDaniel chooses you. Now, there's no, guarantee that if you fire Caley and you go after McDaniel, that you'll get him. He could go ahead and get another job offer. He could get a head coaching offer from another team and say, sorry, but not sorry. I'm going to do this other job. So it's a very, very risky situation if you're the Houston Texans by letting go of Nick Caley, somebody who did show a little bit of promise, even though I do think it kind of bit the Texans in the butt, not hiring an experienced play caller once again at their offensive coordinator spot. But it's a massive risk. Is it one worth taking, though? Because as I mentioned, Cam Ward there in Tennessee, he would be very welcome to a guy like Mike McDaniel coming in and coaching him up because his numbers this past year as a rookie, he didn't play in all 17 games. He was, injured for a couple. Around 60% completion percentage, over 30,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a QB rating of 80.2, and 2 rush touchdowns on the year. But you look what Mike McDaniel was able to do with Tua Tagovailoa. And, I know a lot of people hate on Tua. A lot of people are like, oh, he's, this, that, and the other. Mike McDaniel got the job in 2022. Look at those first 2 years of Tua under Mike McDaniel. 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. In 2023, 4,600 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I mean, Tua was playing lights out before, some unfortunate injuries. He had a couple concussions that I think really changed the trajectory of Tua and his pro career. But Mike McDaniel was able to get the most out of Tua Tagovailoa, somebody who, former head coach of the Dolphins, Brian Flores, said was an absolute bust. And Mike McDaniel actually made him look like a top 10 quarterback in 2023. A lot of people viewed Tua as a top 10 guy that season. I mean, 69% completion percentage, over 4,500 yards. That offense was humming. And then not only with the quarterbacks, but the running game. Like, you don't think of Mike McDaniel that much with, an elite running game. But the past 3 seasons, look at these lead running backs for the Miami Dolphins. And this isn't even considering Achane and Mostert catching the ball out of the backfield, which both of them do very well. Achane this past season had over 1,300 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns on the year. 2024, 900 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. And then 2023, Raheem Mostert had over 1,000 yards and 18 touchdowns on the ground for the Miami Dolphins. So you're looking at a guy like Mike McDaniel, a really good offensive mind, and maybe one of those guys who's a better coordinator than a head coach because the offense wasn't necessarily the problem a ton in Miami, maybe in some instances with Tua, but later on in his tenure. But Mike McDaniel is a very interesting option, and he has a lot of choices ahead of him. He can for sure go to the Tennessee Titans with Robert Saleh. He could go with the Texans and DeMeco Ryans if that position opens up. He has been interviewed by the Raiders and possibly an option for them for either head coach or offensive coordinator if they bring in the right guy, and Mike McDaniel really wants to work with Fernando Mendoza. So he has all the options ahead of him. Whatever Mike McDaniel wants to do, wherever direction he wants to go, I think he'll have that opportunity. I mean, maybe even the, Washington OC with Jaden Daniel. Like, there's a ton of opportunities for Mike McDaniel this offseason. And the Texans, they might be one of them. All right, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure you give me a follow on X at Jeremy Chugs, tweeting about the Texans, tweeting about the NFL every single day. And if you made it to the end of today's show, make sure to hit that subscribe button for free Texans content all year long.